got me hard over mind, worried all the time, making me believe that you will change. You'll keep hurting me, I know, but I just can't let you go, 'cause my heart won't let my love for you change. 'Cause my heart won't let my love for you change.
In 2013, I went and met a couple of guys to sit together and play some country music and possibly start playing with them on a regular basis. And we met at the Sawney Mountain Music Store, and that day was kind of changed the course for me in a lot of ways, both personally and musically. And when I got to meet and hang out with the guy that I'm talking with today, he is truly a brother to me in every respect, and I just have so much respect for him. He is a great songwriter, an amazing singer, great musician, great guitar player. I'm really excited to just hang out and talk with him today, so it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Jody Abernathy.
Hello. Hello. It's so good to see you, Brian.
Yeah, man, so good to see you too. I'm glad that we're finally getting to make this happen. We've been talking about it for a long time.
I know. Thank you for being patient with me.
Oh, man, we've all got a lot going on, so I appreciate you making this happen. We're busy. As we're recording this, Skylar is about to be moving to Austin, Texas. In next weekend. He's moving to Austin, Texas.
No
He's going to be
kidding.
living about 5 minutes from the Broken Spoke in Austin.
Oh my gosh. Is he playing with anybody out there?
He is taking a job doing technology, but he's hoping to maybe start playing with some folks out there. I want to try to connect him
There's
with
a
our
couple
friend.
of musicians in Austin.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a music town. I think
Yeah.
they actually have more live music venues than Nashville.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Probably better live music venues.
Yeah,
too.
I probably not as many bachelorette parties either. So, yeah, I'm hoping to connect him through some people that we know, and who knows. I think he's ready to maybe take a little bit of a break from playing music for a little bit, but it happens. I understand.
that'll come and go throughout his life.
Boy, is that not the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
That
get
is
in,
the
can't
truth.
get out. It's a
Yeah. It's just keep pulling me
Right.
back in.
right.
$100 at a time.
Right. I need the respect of those 10 people at that bar.
That's right. The guys watching the football game, they want to hear me.
Right.
Oh, man. When you and I met each other, I told a lot of people about it. It was like an instant connection. Just it's so funny. I felt like I couldn't believe that we grew up near each other, liking the same music and everything, and had never met each other until we did.
I know. And ran in the same circles too, knew the same people.
Yeah.
And never crossed paths. And it's funny, I've got to remind you of this, that the day that you first played with us at Sawney Mountain, we had 3 other auditions set up for that day. And we did, I think, 1 or 2 songs with you, and I took a break and went out and called them and said, canceled, never mind. We found our guy. So it was on a musical level, it was instantaneous. Like Mark and I looked at each other during the first song we were playing and like, yep, that's it.
Yeah. I felt the same way. I felt like for me, everything had been leading up to that. And
Yeah, definitely.
learning songs, playing in the bands that I was in, just the feel of it. It was just, it all culminated into that day.
Absolutely.
When
yes,
we played together.
Absolutely.
It just got better and better from there, right? I mean, just
Well, it was the I try to shy away from words like chemistry and magic because it's some elusive idea. But for as much as you can take from those words, that's what it was. There was just chemistry there between the 3 of us that just was so apparent, and I'd never had that in a band situation before.
Yeah, it was incredible.
I wanted to kiss you.
Well, back at you, and there's still time. So,
Right. Right. We'll get together.
That's it. So that was where it started, and then we just, we started on the journey, just playing live gigs and recording and doing everything under the sun with each other. And, I liked everything we would do, but singing those duets together, man, that was it for me.
Man, singing the Bucko and stuff with you those are the greatest moments musically I've ever had in my life. Seriously, it was just, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
And effortless.
Yeah, that's it. It was just effortless. It'd just like, hey, I want to do this song this weekend, and we'd show up and we'd just do it, and it just felt comfortable. It never felt like work.
No.
And look, I know you've been there. There are a lot of times where it really does feel like work, and that never did.
No, it was always fun. It was nice to get a little money at the end of it, but it was, I was playing because I truly enjoyed playing.
As long as there's a honky tonk, she'll never settle down. So close up the honky tonks, lock all the doors. Don't let the one I love go there anymore. Close up the honky tonks, throw away the key.
How did country music? Because we're very similar in that you like a lot of music. You like from Kiss to Weather Report to Graham Parsons to Buck Owens and everything in between.
Yeah.
How did country music become a thing in your life? Were you hearing it when you were growing up, or what made you love it?
It was the beginning thing in my life. Country music and, of course, Southern gospel music. Growing up where we did. But hearing old Merle Haggard records, that's what made me want to play, and I was also a huge Kiss fan as a child, but their music was out of reach when you're 7 years old and all you have is a little Hondo acoustic guitar or whatever. You know what I mean? You're not going to be shredding out some Kiss. So Merle Haggard was what I would listen to and just try to learn by listening to his records. And it was always playing in our home. It was always playing in the car. It was always playing at my grandparents'. Those 60s and 70s, 80s musicians, country musicians. So I literally grew up with it being kind of the background music of my life.
Yeah, it was the same for me. Same thing. And it was Merle Haggard. It was, my dad was the biggest Merle Haggard fan I ever knew. And certainly I got that appreciation from him. And I think Merle, for me, I don't know if there's ever been or maybe ever will be a better country singer than Merle Haggard.
No, it was perfected in him. It really was.
Yeah.
The whole formula, the sincerity, the voice, the storytelling, the songwriting, it was as good as it will ever be in him.
I agree. And it was just so honest. And, he didn't write songs about living a hard life from afar. He lived it, right? And you could feel it when he would sing it that he lived what he was living the words that came out of his mouth.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that the belief of that and knowing that led me down some pretty rough roads too. And a lot of it in my youthful ignorance, I thought, if I live like that, I'll be able to write like that. And damned if there might not be a little bit of truth to it, but it probably wasn't worth what it cost me.
Sure. No.
And I never achieved writing like him, nor will I ever, but I gave it a good shot.
Oh, I have a couple of buddies. One of the guys went to jail one night for an expired driver's license after a gig. And his other buddy bailed him out of jail. Him and his parents bailed him out of jail and got him home that night. And they sat down at the kitchen table, and the other guy's dad leaned over and said, "Were you in there long enough to learn to write any good country songs?"
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's wonderful.
That's great. So, Merle was, that's all it was for me. So you come from a musical family?
I do. On the Abernathy side, Barry Abernathy is my cousin. Mm-hmm. He's played with Doyle Lawson and done several things on his own as well.
Yeah.
And all of my relatives on that side played or sang something. And kind of as a kid, I just thought that's what you did, you know?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I get it. That's what we did. You know, it was just kind of, that was our way of, we didn't sit around and play cards or anything. We sat around and played music.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Kept us from having to talk to each other.
Yes, exactly. Oh, man. When did you start playing first, or did you start singing first?
I started singing first. I was singing when I was a little kid. I can remember being on my swing set out back, like little kid. And the higher I would swing, the louder I would sing. And then I learned to play when I was about 7. I found an old, like I said, I don't remember the name brand of it, but it was a very off name brand. And it was a acoustic guitar, and I found it in my grandparents' basement, and got it, some strings put on it, and got it tuned up. And I was shown a few chords while my parents played tennis, and I think I was shown a G and a C and a D chord, and told to work on them. And by the time they finished their tennis game, I could play all 3 of them, and so they were a little surprised that I had picked up on that quick, and started teaching me more. And, you know, then from there I went on to playing in church and singing and listening to records and trying to pick stuff out by ear, which YouTube would have been a great thing to have back then.
Yeah. It was a lot more work back then, trying to learn how to play instead of
moving the needle back.
Yeah. And never quite getting it where you want it.
No, or having to sit and wait a full minute before you got to the part you needed to hear.
That's it.
Yeah. But it was, I guess it taught me patience as musically, and it taught me to really listen and pay attention, because I wanted to get it that time so I didn't have to reset that needle again.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's the way it was. I learned to play by playing along with songs, and I think there's a lot of value in that. Just like playing with other people. You can play music by yourself all day long, but it really makes you grow when you have to play in a group with somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's funny because years later, I learned to play piano the same exact way. And years later, in my early 20s, I took piano and guitar lessons, and both teachers in different ways said the same thing, which was the first thing we need to do is teach you what it is that you're already doing. You're doing it, but you don't know what you're doing. And so they put that into context for me. And once I understood a little bit of theory, that just opened all kind of new doors, because I knew all of it, but I didn't quite know how it all fit together, other than it sounded right, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, the music theory piece of it is like somebody handing you one of those big keychains that has a bunch of keys on it, and it just starts unlocking all these other doors
Oh,
that you
yeah.
didn't even know.
Yeah,
were
absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. Which can lead to the creation of other music, because suddenly you're going about it in a little different way. And you're seeing it in a way for the first time, in a way you never have.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun.
Do you think that when you started understanding kind of the nuts and bolts behind it, do you think it caused you to broaden what you were listening to at the same time?
It absolutely did. One of the first CDs, at this point, CDs were the big thing. And when I started listening to that, one of the first I bought 2 CDs that I had to order, and it was Weather Report, and then I ordered a CD of Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock just playing 2 pianos together.
Man.
And they were doing some of the music or the pieces of Bela Bartok, and I would just listen to that for hours. And just, it's like you can't take it all in on one pass through.
No.
So it definitely broadened what I was listening to, and not only that, but how I listened to it.
Yeah. Bartok, he is, I think so, he's like considered one of the first ethnomusicologists in the world, in that he went up into the mountains of Hungary with these primitive recording devices before they were mainstream, before they were a thing. And he would go and find these people that lived up in the mountains, and he would record them singing all of these folk songs. And he brought them back and started writing all of that music.
No, I didn't know that.
And so a lot of that music that's based on these old folk songs that had never been heard before.
Oh, wow.
They had never made it, into the towns. And
Right.
He's responsible for a lot of folk music becoming more mainstream. And that's what a lot of that stuff was. It's really cool.
Oh, that is really cool. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
And when I progressed with studying music, I tell you, because Weather Report and the Bartok and listening to Chick Corea and stuff is great, and I love that music, but it didn't directly translate in any way into songwriting for me. But what did was when I got to listening to Glenn Gould play the Bach 1 and 2 and 3 part inventions.
Yeah.
And hearing how the bass line worked with the melody on top. And that really opened a lot of doors for me as far as not writing lyrics and songs, but creating music. That blew me away, how it could work together like that.
I mean, those pieces, of course, they'll stand the test of time. But his performance of those pieces,
my God,
I think, they're the gold standard of it.
Absolutely. It's as perfect as you can get without being too perfect.
Yeah, because there's two things. There's two layers going on. Technically, it's just perfect, but there's such a depth of musicality happening underneath the surface of it too.
Yeah, you don't think about classical music having soul, but he had soul.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's awesome. Thinking back of that Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, that's a cool combination too, because obviously they're very similar in a lot of ways, but boy, talk about 2 very different kind of musicians that
oh my God
found that middle ground and just incredible stuff happening.
Oh man, that whole album. I may be missaying the song title. I think it was Maiden Voyage was on that CD, but that song or piece, song, whatever, in particular was there's so much going on in there that's just brilliant with them 2 playing off of each other. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. When did you first say, hey, I think I want to write a song? Were you young? How old were you?
I was probably 14, 15, and I was told over dinner one night that if you want to be a musician and you want to have any chance of ever doing anything in music, you have to write songs. That I was just told that point blank, and I took it to heart and thought, okay, well, I definitely want to do something with music, so I guess I have to learn to write songs. So I started I'd be in the shower in the bathtub and I would take a song that I knew, like a Jim Croce song, and I would just try putting some different lyrics to the music, just maybe telling a little different story. And of course they really sucked. But but it got me started thinking, and it got me started putting lines together and verses together, and then ultimately a chorus together. And it just very slowly developed that way. Yeah. But I really wanted to, and I really wanted to be good at it. So I listened to the guys that I thought were good, and the pattern that I kept noticing in the musicians and the songwriters that I really liked was what they were doing in their songs was much, much simpler than what I was doing in my songs. So the goal then became to say what I wanted to say with less and less words and less music. You know what I'm saying? Like whittling it down. And that's when it started turning for me. That's when the, I don't know that to what degree I've written good songs. That's for other people to decide. But I became more happy with them, and they seemed to be more pleasing to people when I started simplifying.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know if I'd ever thought about that until you said it. But we talk so much about singers and instrumentalists that the great ones know how to say more with less. Mm-hmm. And it's so true about songwriting too. It's you don't have to throw out the whole kitchen sink with rhymes and, all these, fun, this imagery and everything. No, just tell your story.
Merle Haggard, going back to him. I wanted Christmas to be right for Daddy's girl. I mean, that tells a whole story in those few words. You can see the whole picture in those few words, Yeah. So that's the brilliance. That's the particular brilliance of truly good country music to me is the volumes about life and the life experience it can speak in such simple and few words.
Yeah, that's really it. And it doesn't typically involve dirt roads or pickup trucks or solo cups. Doesn't.
None of that shit. Can I say that on?
You can. You absolutely can.
Yeah, that's horse shit. All of it.
None of the Mad Libs of music are necessary.
Right. Songs written with refrigerator magnet words.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are, if you had to give a list of some of your favorite songwriters, who would be on that list for you?
Obviously Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, Jim Croce, going outside country a little bit. I would have to include Gordon Lightfoot, amazing songwriter. Bob Dylan. Came to appreciate him much later on, but and of course Buck Owens.
Of course. Of course Buck Owens.
Yeah. His lyrics never carried the depth that somebody like a Merle Haggard did, but that whole West Coast sound and just the fun and the structure of his songs and lyrics was amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing to me in his music that he could be singing about complete heartbreak with the happiest sounding groove and melody going on underneath it. It's pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also I would hate myself if I forgot to mention Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
For sure.
When did you discover Graham Parsons and how did you?
I like that question. Yeah, I was playing in a rock and roll band, and we had started out playing primarily a lot of 80s rock and old Kiss covers, and then we kind of started gravitating toward the Rolling Stones and Rod Stewart and some more stuff like that. And I got really, really, really into the Rolling Stones. That listening to their albums, all of them, was a whole separate musical education. And it had nothing to do with theory or with structure. It had everything to do with raw heart, just the want to.
Yeah.
And that's when a buddy of mine, Joe Benz, who played in another band, started talking about this guy, Graham Parsons, and he gave me a burned copy of a CD to go home and listen to. And I put it in and it started playing, and the first song was Still Feeling Blue. And I I literally couldn't move off the couch until that CD was done playing. And I honestly think by the time that CD finished playing, I was pretty much done playing rock and roll.
Really?
Like I was like, nope, this is it. This is what I'm doing from now on. Going back to kind of where I began and just playing country music. Cause this is country. I was used to country being what it had became in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
And not knocking that at all, but it didn't move me like the older stuff had moved me as a kid. And then when I heard Graham, it just brought it all back. And I was like, this is definitely the direction I'm going in now.
Well, it's funny for you to say that, though, because if you think about it, I think he had that same effect on every musician he played with. I mean, look what he did to the Byrds, and then look what he did to the Rolling Stones.
Exactly.
Whenever they played with him, they were like, oh, I think I want to do country music, too.
Well, he was just so cool. You wanted to be like him. How could you not? You know, I mean, he was so passionate about it, too.
Yeah.
You know, that I think that energy and excitement carried over in his music even after he was dead. It just drew you in.
Yeah, you hear about those people that they say that their light just shines so bright that it just burns out quicker than somebody else. And I really believe that's the way it was with him.
Absolutely.
The output in such a short amount of time is pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. And nobody with any kind of light should hang around Keith Richards ever.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And man, Graham with Emmylou is just...
Oh, yeah, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
In South Carolina, there are many tall pines. I remember the oak trees that we used to climb. And now when I'm lonesome, I always pretend that I'm getting the feel of hickory wind.
What was, and I've seen this in some bio stuff about the band, and I've always wanted to ask you about, what was, I know you attended a workshop with Jeffrey Steele at one point. What was that? How did that happen, and what did you take away from that?
Well, I forget the year. I wish I could remember. But for a while, for quite a few years, Jeffrey did a songwriter contest where he chose 12 people worldwide to attend a 1-week writing seminar where they spent every day with him. And I was fortunate enough to be chosen. And so I got to go up and spend, like I said, a week with him, listening to him talk about nothing but songwriting every day. And I got to go with him to studio and see a few other things as well. But primarily, he discussed his method and his philosophy behind writing songs. And it was very educational. And it was also very validating because I didn't, and still don't, have a particular method. You know, I don't start every song with this or with that. It all just kind of happens as it happens. And kind of to hear him talk about that and realize, oh, well, he does that too. It kind of made me not feel like I was, even though I was kind of happy with what I was ending up with, I didn't think I was doing it right.
Yeah.
You know, and so
Sure.
It kind of validated that, yeah, it's okay. As long as you get to where you want to go, you're doing it right.
Right.
So, but I enjoyed work, and such a nice guy, man. Such a giving, humble, like genuinely humble, open guy. Very accessible.
Man, he's had some great tunes, hasn't he?
He sure has, and you really can appreciate them for what they truly are when you hear them on the radio done by other people.
Yeah.
When you sit in a room with him and he does the song, you go, oh my God, that's what that song is supposed to sound like.
Yeah.
And it hits you in a whole new way. He's great, truly great.
So and I was going to ask you that, like a lyrics first, melody second. It doesn't matter. Whatever the inspiration that comes is you just follow it and go with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, try to. And I don't, and I should do this more. I should force myself to write a little bit more, but I don't. I've never truly been happy with how things sound or what comes out when I do that. So I just hit these spells where I want to write and I write. And then when I'm done, I'm almost relieved that it's over.
Yeah.
And I take a break from it for a while, but I've been on too long a break now. I probably need to get back to it.
So I guess the first album we recorded together was a lot of material, a lot of songs that you guys had written through the years, right? I mean,
correct.
And then the second album, were a lot of those ones that you had written between the first album and that one?
If I recall correctly, most of the songs that I wrote for the second CD were songs that I came up with after the first CD was released and during the time I was going through my first divorce.
Yeah.
And none of the songs I wrote were about that divorce. It was just suddenly I had a whole new life with more time on my hands than I'd previously had. And so I think that created the space and the opportunity to be creative. And so that's where a lot of those songs came from. Like I said, they weren't speaking to my divorce directly. It was just speaking to the fact that I had some time and opportunity to actually write. And it helped take my mind off of everything that was going on.
Yeah.
So.
And both, I mean, I call you and Mark the Lennon and McCartney of Cumming, Georgia, because I think you guys are both fantastic songwriters, but I think that you're two very different songwriters, right? I think that you approach the subject matter very differently.
Absolutely.
And I just think that I will confess that for a very large percentage of my time being a musician, I sang a lot of songs without really thinking about what they were saying. I was just singing the melody and the words that went along with it. Mm-hmm. Until I started playing with you guys, and my approach to it was very different because I really started to understand and appreciate the depth by which you guys were writing and the way that you were singing them. It made me understand the honesty that was required to do it the right way.
Well, that's very humbling, and I'm very flattered to hear you say that. Honestly, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's not every song is quote unquote true, but there's emotional truth in every song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's
What song, can you think of a song that we did that is the most real to life of what happened that became words on a page?
A Long Way From Home was the last song I wrote before I had finally had enough and got clean and sober. And I wrote that song at Mark's. Mark wasn't home. I was there by myself. And I wrote that song in about 20 minutes. And the problem I had after I had written it was I had to go back and rewrite it and figure out what the splatter marks were because I cried all over the lyrics as I was writing them. It was... that song is still a little hard for me to get through sometimes because it was as close to a full-on autobiographical song as I had written. It was, I lived and felt about every word of that one.
Yeah, and... I wanted to ask you about your sobriety, and I'll be honest with you, Jody, I still, as I'm sitting here, can't think of the...
Hold on and let me open this beer. All right, let's talk sobriety.
Okay, here we go. Open my Truly, and and I'm sure as time goes on, your view of your life, the elevation of it's higher and higher, right? And you look at a much larger view of it. And how do you view that time of your life when you were realizing that sobriety was the only answer for you?
I think my story is probably pretty in line with most you would hear. I just got to the point where, where every possible scenario other than that was terrifying. I could die, and that was scary. But honestly, the most frightening thought and the most probable outcome would have been that I would have just kept living that over and over and over and over, and not have the luxury of dying. Just live that existence, for the next 20 or 30 years. And the thoughts of that were, I couldn't. So I was in a, in a drug house where I was basically living in a oversized closet that had been cleaned out for me to sleep in. And everybody had crashed and passed out. There was no food. There was a 6-pack of beer left in the refrigerator, Miller Lights. And I told myself I was going to drink every one of them. And when I was done, I was going to go get help. And I was going to walk away from that. And my esophagus was so burned from the drugs and drinking that I had to take little baby sips because it burned going down. It took me about probably 5 or 6 hours to drink that whole 6-pack. The sun was coming up when I finished, and I passed out. And when I woke up, I started searching for help, and literally by the grace of God, I just never looked back.
Man. Since we're talking about this, and I'll jump back into where we were, but I'm going to just share this between the two of us. I have wrestled with sobriety for about the past year,
really?
And I haven't had anything to drink in a while, and probably from when you see me from now on, I probably won't have anything anymore. I know that I have alcoholic tendencies, and I it's just not the right path for me.
I got you. Yeah. Well, especially at this age in our life. You've had the experience, and it's so I commend you for that. Like it's an honorable choice.
Well, and it just for me, I am not the nicest person to the people closest to me when I drink,
right.
and it's not that I don't become my dad or anything, but I become maybe a lighter version of him.
I got you,
and I don't want to. I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I was told one time, and this resonated with me. I was told that when I drank, I wasn't nearly as charming as I thought I was. And in my mind, I was joking and being charming. But to the people around me, it was probably a little crass, and probably not very sensitive or caring.
Yeah.
They would probably not use the word charming to describe it. So I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. I boy, as you were saying that sentence, I was like, well, I could hear the same words being said about me, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Well, I tell you, it's there are higher things in life to aspire to, and for me, I found that those things were impossible to reach and maintain while I was drinking or doing anything else. And when you let go of that stuff, then all those other good things are just free to pour into your life.
Yeah,
and so
that's it.
It's a good thing.
That's really it.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, if you've got a funnel, well.
Well, I do have a bunch of beer in the fridge in there, and so I mean, I could put some music on.
I quit drinking and drugging. I only funnel beer now.
That's it. Yes. I just stopped drinking right out of the container. That's it. I don't do it.
Right. I just pour it directly down my throat with a hose and a funnel.
I only drink out of non-standard drinkware. Do you remember the first day you met Mark Mundy?
Yes, absolutely. I was the only kid in school that played guitar. And
looked in the mirror this morning and saw what time has done to me. Years of hard living show in my face. They've erased the gentle boy I used to be. Hey, I set out to be somebody, so sure that I could make it on my own. But these dreams that I've been chasing have left me feeling old and tired, and a long way from home.
You know, other kids messed around with it, but they couldn't do a song. You know, that was my deal. And this kid came to our school and he had really long hair. And at lunch, in the lunchroom, he went up on stage while everybody was eating lunch. And he started playing guitar way better than me. Way better than me. And I was like, you know, who is this guy? And wow, he's really good. And I'm a little bit jealous that somebody can do this other than me. And not only that, but they're doing it a hell of a lot better than I can. So I went up and met him and I played him. I forget what it was I played for him, but I played him just something to show him I could play guitar. And then, of course, we became friends and went over to his house and we set up in his mom's building outside of their house. And I think the first two songs I had a little keyboard, like a little synthesizer thing. And I think we learned, and I had an acoustic guitar, and we learned to play Jump by Van Halen and Curtis Lowe, the first two songs.
Of course, you know.
Right. And I'm sure they sounded great.
Oh, gosh,
Yeah.
It's too bad there's no evidence of that anywhere, you know.
Mark could play every note of that solo, though, in Van Halen Jump, and that was really impressive.
How old were y'all?
14.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
What school was that?
North Forsyth Junior High.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then y'all went to Central.
We went to Central, and we just, you know, we continued to play together from junior high on in different bands at different times and things like that. But we always, I think it was because no other bands would put up with us. We always ended up back playing together. Because I don't know if you know this, but Mark can be a little bit of a smart ass. Yeah.
I've seen it one or two times.
Yeah. And I'm kind of neurotic. So we just never worked out with anybody else, but we could tolerate each other.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, and you guys had several like different iterations of bands, right? You started out with one, and what was it Stepdaughter? Was that one of the bands?
Stepdaughter was the first band that we had that was actually playing more than just a hometown bar. Actually, like going out and playing different venues, even out of state. Well, the first incarnation of that band was called the Hooplas, and it was supposed to just be a spoof band doing cover tunes, you know, nothing too serious, but people really seemed to enjoy it, and we were having a great time. And so then at some point we changed drummer and bass player, and at that point we changed the name to Stepdaughter, and we were playing more of a southeastern type thing between here and Key West and Louisiana and, you know, places like that. And we did that for quite a few years. I don't remember exactly how long. I don't remember much from that time at all. And then that's when, like I said, we started gravitating toward the Rolling Stones, and that's when the Graham Parsons CD came along, and we just switched gears entirely. You know, Mark got into it the same time I did with the Graham Parsons thing, and just, you know, totally different direction we suddenly wanted to go in. And everybody that used to come see Stepdaughter and see us do the rock and roll show where we had pyrotechnics and I would spit fire. Literally, I would have a mouthful of 151 and light a bar napkin on fire and blow fire out into the crowd. And, you know, and suddenly we're doing Merle Haggard tunes and they were like, y'all suck. What happened? So we lost everybody that came to see us, and none of the clubs that hired us really wanted us to come back. But we just kept going with it and kind of built a whole new fan base based around what we were now enjoying playing.
Yeah.
That's
really funny. It's funny, people that would come, I would invite people to come and hear us play, and I would tell, you know, I started playing with this band, and they're like, but I don't really like country music. Mm-hmm. And I would always be like, it doesn't matter. Just come and hear this band. And I think that was and maybe it's because you guys played so many other kinds of music before that. Mm-hmm. And the band always played country music the right way. It felt the right way. A shuffle felt like a shuffle. A ballad felt good, but it just felt different. Do you know what I mean? I can't.
Oh, yeah.
It just had a different depth to it than a lot of other country bands that I've ever played in.
Well, I think that was musically, if you ever come across the right combination of guys, you're incredibly lucky. And I think that was created not by me and Mark or any one person. I really do think that was the combination of me and you and Mark and some of the great drummers that we had: Kevin Albertson, George Sandler, Mark Strickland, Jimmy Mouton. But it was just what happened when we got together. It just came out right. It was just, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
It was just a really, there was a lot of chemistry there. And I think that's why it came out sounding like it sounded.
Yeah, for me, it always felt like there are a lot of bands out there that you can go hear that might be a really good vocal group, but the instrumental part of it suffers, or vice versa. And I think for me, the thing that was just so incredible was that it was a great instrumental band, but it was also a great vocal band, right? There was a lot of good harmony stuff going, and it just checked all the boxes. Great songwriting too, man. Golly.
Thanks, bud. It was the greatest. It was the greatest band I will ever be in.
Me too.
And I'm so happy that everybody is doing well, but I miss it all the time. I really do. It's because where do you go from there? you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. No, I'm with you. And I don't really miss playing music very much, but I miss that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't, and I want to apologize to a lot of people that will probably hear this and don't take what I'm about to say as a negative thing, but playing in bars can just kind of really get freaking old after a while.
Yeah.
And just, playing for the same amount of money and dealing with fighting against the 25 TVs hanging up in the bar around you. And
it can be crushing.
It can be crushing. And thankfully, Across the Wide had two magic things. It had a great core of musicians that loved playing music with each other, and an incredible group of people that supported that band. Like no band I've ever played with before. The people that come and support Across the Wide. Right.
Well, it's kind of looking back on it, and I'm not making any excuses, because there's always more that I could have done or whatever. But I think too that for what we did and the style of music we played, and I think location had a lot to do with it. I think had we been more toward Texas, Oklahoma, that area, I think a lot more opportunity would have opened up for us. I just don't. And God bless every country music fan in Georgia and around here that supported us. I just don't think there were enough of them for us to have the reach that we could have had we been more out west.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more.
We were not a Nashville band.
No,
nothing
not
against Nashville, but that wasn't us.
No, right. Because when we went to Texas, for me, I felt such validation. Like, oh, this is where what we're doing makes sense.
Exactly. When we played in Texas, I left feeling like if we were located out here, we would be playing 5 nights a week to full houses every night.
Yeah.
Running all around just the state of Texas.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a great experience.
Yeah. I think to a certain degree, the Atlanta music venue scene has a little bit of an identity crisis, and that it can't quite figure out what it wants to be.
Right.
If it wants to be, I say that, I feel like everywhere's turning into the tribute band world, but it can't decide if it wants to be a country bar or a rock bar, or it's a mishmash, and it's very hard to feel consistent as a band when you're ping-ponging around all these different places to play.
No, I completely agree. And I also think, again, not to be negative, but I just get the sense. I get the sense that Atlanta and the surrounding areas would kind of like to distance themselves from the identity of being country or being Southern. It seems more and more like they're trying to shun that image and play it down. And I think that's a shame.
I think it's a shame. And I live in St. Louis now, and I would say that it's more adept in knowing who it is than maybe Atlanta is.
Right.
Country music is alive and well in St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know if it is in Atlanta.
Right.
You know,
when we played at Cowboys, and this was before you joined the band, when we played at Cowboys and we sold more tickets than the headlining band that was asleep at the wheel, that told me that Atlanta had a problem with country music.
Yeah.
Because that's not bragging on us. That is... Asleep at the Wheel is one of the greatest touring bands around, and the fact that nobody in Atlanta came out to support them was incredibly disheartening to me.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Man, I just hope for the city's sake that they will figure out who they are in that and support the honest country music that's still being released, because it's still happening. You know, people are still creating great country music out there.
No, I completely agree. You don't hear it on mainstream radio, but there is some phenomenal country music being made right now. And it would be nice. You know, a lot of really good country music used to come out of Atlanta and out of Georgia, and it would be nice for that to happen again. I think the talent is still here. You mentioned it would be nice if they figured out who they were, and I think it's great. I think you can be a lot of diverse things, but I think it's more of a matter of accepting who you are, accepting that this is Georgia. We're Southern, you know. That's not a bad thing. There's maybe some things from the past that could and should be let go of, for sure, certain attitudes and certain opinions, but ain't nothing wrong with being Southern. And I think it's important to accept it, because whether you like it or not, that's what we are.
That's right. And Atlanta can be a hip-hop town and a country music town, and that's
absolutely.
Okay.
It is those two things.
Yes.
It is those things.
Yeah.
So why shun one and embrace the other? Embrace them both.
That's it. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. No, I totally agree. Are you doing much playing, writing, singing these days? What all are you doing?
Slowed down since COVID. Slowed down and had a lot of personal life stuff to deal with over the past couple of years. But finally in a place where I'm very, very happy and very excited to be getting back to playing. And just as soon as Mark and I figure out how to manipulate you into moving back here, then we'll get the game started.
Well, I
know we're
going to be playing some music soon.
Yeah, September the 6th.
Yes.
September the 6th.
We'll be doing a show with Eddie Montgomery.
In Woodstock, at the amphitheater. That's going to be fun. Tim Hamilton on pedal steel.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
It's going to be fun,
man. And then I'm hoping you can get down here this summer and we can play a show kind of to prepare us for that show.
I would love that. And more than anything, just an excuse to just be on stage together and just...
Absolutely.
I just want to listen to you sing all night,
and eat
man.
hamburgers together.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They still have chicken wings in Georgia? Can I get some buffalo
The last
wings?
club we played at, they had chicken wings on the menu.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And a couple
I didn't know if maybe they stopped after I moved.
Yeah, I think they're still showing ball games too.
Oh, good. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want anybody to pay attention to us.
No. No. Somebody had put on Facebook, describe what you do in a silly roundabout way, and I said I interrupt grown men in bars trying to watch the ball game with singing.
That's it. You know, I was on another episode on here. I was talking to someone, I can't remember, about, I think one of the worst things that ever happened for musicians was when they invented TVs that could be hung on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
because that's when it all started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the, God bless them, the club owners. They want all the money from the people that want to see music, the people that want to see games, the people that want to shoot pool, the people that want to just show up and talk. So you want to be quiet enough for them, but loud enough for the people that want to hear. It's a constant tug of war between 3 or 4 different things in a situation like that. Yeah. And thus the soul crushing comes in.
That's right. That's exactly right. I was thinking about this before we recorded today. I was trying to pinpoint some of my favorite times that we played together. And I always enjoyed when we would play the dinner set at the Angelus event, because I always felt like we kind of tightened up our game a little bit, and just the love and the respect, just the vibe of everybody in the audience. I just think it kind of pushed us to do better. That was one of my favorites.
Not to mention Charlie Daniels sitting literally 5 foot in front of us, staring up at us.
Yeah, that too.
That'll tighten your game up real quick.
Yeah, and he was just such a sweetheart about it too, wasn't he?
Yeah, man. Everybody was so gracious down there and supportive, and that was a super, super fun 3 or 4 days we would spend down there every year. I wouldn't take nothing for that. Thank you, Tweak Evans, for setting us up with that.
Yeah, just I think about all of those people that we met, all those Embreys, that's that whole Embry crew.
All them damn Embreys. Yeah.
Man, I love those people.
Folks were great. Absolutely great. That was honestly so privileged to have been a part of that. Really.
Yeah, that's where we met Eddie. Hopefully Eddie will remember who we are when we see him in September.
I hope so.
Because he sat and listened to us for a long time.
Yeah, he did. And that, like I said, going down there and meeting those guys and getting to know Confederate Railroad and Little Texas and some of those people, and to have those guys that you listen to and that you admired take time to sit down and listen to you and smile and enjoy it. It makes competing with all them ball games almost worth it.
Almost worth it. Because, hey, look, as one of them said, this ain't no hobby, right?
That's right. This ain't no hobby, baby.
This ain't no hobby. That'll be always my takeaway. One of the funniest memories of that. I'm trying to remember some other ones. We've done so many, and they were all just amazing in their own way. I love playing the band stuff, but man, for me, just me and you and Mark sitting on stools wherever we could, just singing 3-part harmony together
was great.
Or me and you singing duets. That was all I needed.
Oh yeah, man. It was wonderful. Some of the stuff we did at the Mountain Fair grounds up there was really, really fun. Some of the bigger shows where we got to open for some heroes of ours, and that was those were always really fun too. And it was great because we played so many bars, but it was nice that we could move up to a bigger stage like that, and it still played out just as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't that band in particular was not just a bar band.
I agree. No, I completely agree. I remember in particular, I think when we did a show with Sammy Kershaw up there, and the band was it was tight. Oh man, it sounded good.
Yeah, it was on. It was absolutely on. And the response from the people, bless every one of them, just let us know that.
Yeah.
It was great.
I'd been going up. Did you go up there when you were a kid? Did you ever go to Hiawassee?
Yeah. I saw George Strait up there, and there was me and you talked about that. I think we were at the same show.
It was like 1982 or 83.
Yeah, there was maybe
60
there. People under the tent listening to him.
Yeah.
He was it was before he was the George Strait.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went up there quite a bit when I was a kid. Heard different bands.
That place is special to me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, well they loved you up there for sure.
Man, I started going up there when I was like 5 years old.
Oh wow.
Singing up there. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't I'm probably just about the same height as I was then. Oh, man. Well, Jody Abernathy, this has been an absolute pleasure to me.
Man, thank you so much for letting me do this. It's been great to sit and catch up with you.
Yeah. And just hearing your story, man, it's just you've had quite a journey and just come out on the other side, and what a freaking talent you are. And
man.
what a gift you are to me.
Thank you. Well, back at you for real. I appreciate it very much. And so grateful for all the music we got to play together, and looking forward to some more.
Yeah, we're just gonna keep doing it, and I'm looking forward to playing some with you this year, and we're just gonna do some more.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, best of luck to you, buddy. I love you.
Love you too, bud. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Think of me when you're lonely. Think of me when you're blue. Think of me when you're far away. I'll be thinking of you.
Thanks for listening to the Bandwich Tapes. I'm your host, Brad Williams. The show's theme is called Placation and was written by Mark Mundy. Drop me a line at the email address, thebandwichtapes@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe to receive new episodes of the podcast. And while you're at it, please tell someone else about the show. Thanks for listening.